Welcome to the Irresistible You podcast. This is the place to get a dose of empowerment to create the life you crave and deserve. I'm your host, Amy Beltran, CEO and founder of Irresistible University. Through my podcast and signature coaching program, I teach women just like you how to ditch the body image issues, gain confidence, and lose the emotional weight to look and feel irresistible at any size. If you like the podcast, you're going to love my group coaching program. If you want to learn more about it, including the investment, what's included, get real client testimonials, and to sign up and enroll, please head over to irresistibleacing.com/course. That link is also in the show notes. Okay, guys, so here's what we're doing today. We are talking about the concept of the mental load. And as I'm saying this, I feel my heart racing. I can feel anxiety just bubbling up in my chest. I talked about this the other day on my Instagram stories, and this was not even the intention for the topic this week, but I had so many of you respond to those stories that I was like, okay, hold up. We need to talk about this because that's part of the problem, is that we don't talk about the mental load and we don't give it the weight that it deserves and the weight that it takes on us. And when I talk about mental load, this is something that predominantly affects women, I would say, especially women who are mothers, but you don't have to be a mom to carry the mental load when you are just kind of going through life, and especially when you're going through life with another person. But I can only speak from my perspective, and so as I'm talking today, my perspective and my mental load comes from the shoes, the very cute high heel shoes, of a woman who has 2 small children, a husband, a chihuahua, a house, and a business to run. So when I talk about it from my perspective, my mental load is very heavy. I feel like I have 100 tabs open in my brain at any given time because there is so much that I am managing that is not seen necessarily, right? So before we really get into it, I want to just define what we mean when we say mental load so that we're all on the same page, okay? So when we say mental load, we are talking about the cognitive effort that is involved in managing your work, your relationships, your family, your household, your business. Mental load are all of these thoughts and questions and ideas and tasks that we are managing throughout the day, okay? And it's not just about the responsibility itself. This is what's important, guys. I want you to get this. It's also about the decisions and the thought process that has to be made before you even do the thing. That in and of itself is what takes up such a large mental load. It's not just the task. In the most simplest terms, the mental load, the way I think of it, is the emotional and the mental labor that we perform. It's all the mental and emotional labor that we perform on top of everything else we do in our lives. So I know some people are talking about this. Maybe you've never heard this term before. I don't know, but I guarantee you know the feeling that I'm talking about. That feeling of having all the tabs open in your brain. And I've really been feeling this lately, and I know why. And here's the thing. It's not even when something bad is happening. That's something that adds on to the mental load, but that's not what we're talking about here. The mental load that we carry isn't necessarily because there's negative, horrible things happening in our life. It's just us trying to manage our lives. So what are the types of mental load, right? It's all of the thoughts, all of the decision making, all of the planning about your job, your business, your family. And it's not just that broad. It's not just that generic. Because when I say family, then you have to break that down into the people within your family. And if you're a mom, chances are you're the person who is managing all the people in that family, right? And when we talk about managing the people, when you have kids, it's managing the doctor's appointments, the dentist appointments, the recreation, the games, the school schedule, the play dates, the medications, the sicknesses, just, all of those things. You're also managing through that little person's emotions, right? Like, you're having to manage through their feelings, their emotions, on a daily basis. And that's hard enough with one. It's even harder with two. And for those of you that are above and beyond two, like, girl, I don't know how you do it. I really don't, because it's a lot to manage. And I think about my brain. I give the analogy of like having all the tabs open in my brain. And I have talked about this one before, where it's kind of like my brain is a pizza, and that pizza has been cut in, 50 slices, because my attention is having to go in all of these different buckets. So family, don't just say family, like that breaks down to so many different things. And it's, again, let me just give an example, because this topic just gets me fired up. And okay. So doctor's appointment, dentist appointment. It pops in your brain. Oh my God, I got to make Kat a dentist appointment. Okay. So then that mental load is hanging over you. When I get these things that pop up, what I normally do, because for me, my personality is I'm a doer. I like to get shit done. And I sometimes want to get things done now, even though I have other things that I'm doing. So I have to put those things in my to-do list so that I don't forget, because the mental load, we don't always remember everything because we are carrying way too much. Have you ever had 20 plus tabs open on your computer before, and then your computer freezes and you have to restart it because it literally, like, your computers can't even handle having this many tabs open, let alone our brains, right? So when they have to have a dentist appointment, it's like that initial thought pops in the head. You start thinking about your schedule. You start looking at the calendar. You go, oh my God, I think the insurance changed this, right? So I think the insurance changed, and I'm not sure if their dentist is still covered with the new insurance plan. Let me go check that out. Okay. So then you go and you're like, shit, I don't remember the name of the dental company that we signed for, open enrollment. So you have to go and find that on the company website. You can't remember your login. You finally get to the company's benefits site and you're like, okay, it's, such and such dental. You're like, but I don't have a login for that. So you've got to create the login. You got to go on their website. You got to get the information before you even make the damn appointment. Now, this is just an example, but I know you probably see where I'm going with this, and I know that you can relate because you've been there, right? It applies to so many different things. I don't know if y'all heard that. Hang on. Just as I'm saying that, and I'm going over these examples, just as I'm giving you that example, I've got, Kat's insulin pump beeping because it's a pump change day. And I'm going to get into that in just a second, because managing a child with type 1 diabetes is like a whole pizza of its own, okay? So this mental load that we carry, it's not just the task, right? And majority of people that carry this, it's the women, it's the wives, it's the mothers, and listen, I'm not here to bash men by any means. And I will tell you, like, my husband, he is very involved. He is an amazing dad. He, does his share in the household as far as like responsibilities. He does laundry. He helps clean. I even have to change my way of thinking. He doesn't help do any of that. He does it because it's part of his job and it's part of my job. I'm going to get into that as well, because we have to stop saying that our husbands are helping us. No, they're not helping you. Did they say that we help them do X, Y, and Z? No, they don't. We're not helping. We're doing our job. And we have to be really careful about how we talk about these things. So, Frank is very involved. He, takes care of the children while I'm working, and then we have split schedules. So, while he's at work, I have the kids, and vice versa, because we are not on the same work schedule. And even still, love him. He's awesome. He's amazing, but he doesn't carry the same mental load. His brain does not have 100 tabs open, worrying and wondering about, tumbling class, and did I sign the papers in time for the field trip? What time is the thing on Friday? Did I order the cakes for their birthday? Did I make the appointments? Like, he's not carrying that mental load in his brain. And I'm not here to solve that problem today, and I'm not here to really give you the answer, because I don't have it. I don't have the answer of, will that change with humanity? I don't know. I just think that women, number one, we are better at carrying the mental load, so we just get stuck doing it. And then we think we can't ask for help. We think that no one else can do it as good as us, so we don't delegate it out. And here's the thing with delegating it out, okay? Is my husband capable of making appointments? Yes. Is he capable of, getting such and such things at the store? Yes. Here's the thing about it, though, and this goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning. It's not about, hey, babe, I'll run to the store and get that for you. Great, that's amazing. But before we got to that step, I had to carry the mental load of going, oh, shit, we're out of dog food. Oh, shit, I forgot to order the dog food this month on the Amazon order. Now I got to go to the store and get it. And then, that's great that you're offering to help, but then what's the next question? Can you send me a picture of his food? It's like, dude, he's been eating the same shit for how many years? You go in the pantry in the mornings and you get the bag out, and you're the one who feeds him, usually in the mornings. You see the bag just as much as I see the bag. So again, it's like, okay, now I got to take time out. You're doing this to save me time, but I haven't been able to drop the mental burden of it, because this is what happens for us. Oh, can you send me the picture? And I'm like, sure. So now I'm on the phone taking a fucking screenshot of an ad or a picture of the food, if I'm not downstairs by the pantry, sending it to him via text. What's the next text message? Is this it? Sends me a picture of what they have. And then let's say they don't have the food. So now he's like, well, they don't have it, but they have this or this. And now I still have to make the fucking decision because I don't know why. This is the epitome of what I'm talking about. The mental load of it, right? Or then I get the infamous FaceTime call. In the store, it's loud. The video is scrambled. I'm like, I can't even see what the shit you're looking at. I can't see it. The screen is scrambling. I don't know what you're looking at. Just fucking figure it out. Honestly. And we have had that conversation. We're like, you just need to figure it out. And I think because those of us who carry the mental load, those of us that are the doers, right? And let's face it, most moms, we're the doers in the relationship and in the dynamic. And we like things done a certain way. So it's almost in a way we've set, I think about this, we've set our husbands up to be so afraid of us that they're going to do the wrong thing. And then what are they going to have to hear? A bunch of shit, right? We're going to, oh my God, I can't believe you got the wrong food, blah, 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 right? It's just the way your husband or your partner does the dishes may not be the way you do it. And I have learned in 10 days, it'll be 12 years of marriage. and 16 or 17 years together. Oh my God, that's so bad. I think it's 16. I have learned to just say, oh, thank you. Like when he does the dishes, right? Like, you know, and I've also can remember a time in our relationship where we had those fights about, you know, you need to do this and you need to do that, because he wasn't automatically helping. And then that I had that burden of like having to tell him to do certain things. And now, you know, we've been together a long time. We've had a house together a very long time. We have children together. There's certain things like they just get done, right? But then there's those other things that are the appointments, the school schedule, the field trips, the tumbling, the gymnastics, the family vacations, all those like detail-y things. That's on me, right? And honestly, I don't know. I get torn on this because I know, number one, I'm better at doing those things. I'm very detail-oriented. Because and again, it's because we do carry the mental load. So it's like this catch-22 of like, I don't know. And a lot of this, I'm not really here to like answer or give you solid advice. I'm kind of just thinking it through myself, because I just wonder sometimes how we've got ourselves in that place. And so, you know, I don't know. It's just a lot, right? And when you think about the mental load, it's kind of like those memes that they have where they talk about how the mom is like, oh, I just love, it's so funny when I sit on the couch on Christmas in my robe and my coffee and I like smile watching my kids opening all the presents and also glancing over at my husband as he's in shock of what I bought, right? Like, because a lot of times we're the ones doing it all. They're not even involved in that. So it's just, it's a lot. And even when you have someone who is involved, who does their share, who, you know, shares the responsibilities of the family and the house, it doesn't erase the mental load that comes with it. And it doesn't mean your partner, your spouse is bad. It doesn't mean that at all. Because, and it also doesn't mean that they don't carry a mental load of their own. And I think sometimes for men too, it runs even deeper maybe. Like they have such a sense of responsibility of like making sure everybody's okay. And, you know, I don't know. It's an interesting conversation, an interesting topic. And I just know that I've got 100 tabs open. I've been feeling some type of way this week where, girl, like just that constant anxious feeling. And again, there's nothing bad going on in my life right now. Like, could I use some more help and some support and some cloning? Yeah, like totally. That would probably make my life chef's kiss, right? Like that's what I need. That's something I'm working on. That's something I'm seriously buttoning down and making happen. But it's not going to be anytime in the immediate future. Like as in like the next couple days or weeks, right? It takes time to find that. And also it's October. October is my favorite month, but it's also a very, very busy month in our family. So my husband's birthday is October 10th. So that has passed. We've moved past that one. My daughter is the 21st, which is tomorrow. As I'm recording this episode, it is literally tomorrow, the 21st. My son is the 26th. Our wedding anniversary is the 30th. Halloween is the 31st. And then on top of that, I love October. I love Halloween. It's why I got married on October 30th, Halloween Eve. How I ended up having children that are 5 days apart, 5 and 10, exactly 5 days before Halloween and exactly 10 days before Halloween. The world will never know. It's just meant to be, I guess. But I also want to live and enjoy every moment of Halloween shit. I just want to roll around in pumpkins and just do all the things. And so while I love that and it feels fun, it also sometimes feels like, you know, how am I going to get it all done? Because I don't want it to go away. I don't want this month to end, because then November comes and it's always gloomy and dreary. And then it's the holidays. And I'm not ready for the holidays. I just want to live in October for a very long time. And it just gets me kind of spinning. So then also right now I'm, you know, planning their birthday party, and they're going to have the same party the same day. They're turning 2 and 6. Javi doesn't know any better, right? Like he just, you know, and as long as I can have their parties on the same day, I'm going to ride that as long as possible until they truly just, you know, have their own thing, have their own friends, and truly want to have something separate. Fine. But for now, for my own sanity, we're going to just do one party. And I think that's the other thing. As I'm talking this out, right? I think that's the other thing, is it's the birthday thing, right? And I'm sorry if I'm all over the place. I'm just not as structured as I usually am, because it's just getting all this out. But their birthdays are very, very bittersweet to me. And I think that is the hardest, the saddest, and the happiest, most beautiful, grateful thing about having children is it's bittersweet, right? Because it's the saddest and the happiest thing all in one, because you're so happy to see them growing, you know, learning new things. Like, I'm going to get all emotional, y'all. Oh my God, I didn't want to do this. But every time I talk about them, you know, Kat is reading to us now, and Javi is, you know, trying to speak little sentences, and it's just, it's amazing, and it's beautiful to see that. But then you go, holy shit, 6? How is she 6 years old? I feel like I was literally just pregnant. And you just feel that sand. I think about the sand in the finger and the hand, and just the sand is just slipping through your fingers. And last night I dropped off, donated a bunch of baby toys and clothes that don't fit them any longer. And it's just this final, it's this like, and I'm saying like a lot, and oh God. How do I say this? Dropping off those boxes of baby toys and baby clothes and, you know, 4Ts and 5Ts and all that stuff. It just symbolizes that is gone. That time period in our life is gone, and it's gone forever. Right? Like, and I think about that, and I know I can get really deep about stuff and in my feelings, but it's just who I am, and I will never apologize for being a very emotional person. I think about it, today is Thursday. It's the last Thursday my firstborn will ever be 5. And that time is gone, and it doesn't come back. And that causes anxiety. So I think, you know, yes, the mental load of the birthdays, of, you know, the planning of that, plus all the other mental load stuff. And then also just those bittersweet feelings of like, oh my God, like, you only get one second birthday. You only get one 6th birthday. That's it. And when you're in motherhood, especially these first 6 years, especially more like the first 3 or so are, oh, fuck it, they're all hard. Who am I kidding? Like, they're hard in different ways, right? In the beginning, it's hard because the baby is up every 2 hours and you're sleep deprived and you're still sore from, you know, birth, and you're just literally a hot mess from sweating and the hormones and all those things. And that's hard, right? Then they become mobile and you're so grateful they can walk, they're hitting milestones, but Jesus, can you just slow down? Like, you're driving me nuts, right? That's hard when you have a 2-year-old who's running around and throwing stuff and screaming and finding their voice. And it's hard. 6 is hard when they think they know everything, right? Teenagers are hard. Adult children are hard when you have to watch them go through those same things. So it's different hard, right? I would much rather deal with the hard right now than the hard of the newborn stage. I don't miss that. Do I get nostalgic when I see our newborn pictures? Yes, I do. And I'm like, oh my God, my baby. But I don't ever want to go back to that. No, I don't. So the mental load, we have to recognize it because it is a real thing. You may not be able to touch it, but you emotionally and mentally can feel it, right? And one of the things that's important, I think helpful for you to see the mental load is to get out a piece of paper and to start writing down every single thing that takes up space in your brain. And you will be shook when you see how long the list is. I mean, shook. And I don't want you to just write down, need dog food, right? Like, I want you to also think about the thinking and the planning around those things. And that's why for me too, like the more things that I can put on autopilot, the better. So for example, and normally dog food is one of them, but I have like the diapers, the wipes, the toilet paper, the dog pads, laundry detergent, dish detergent. I usually have, I have all of those things on an automated Amazon subscription service. So I don't think about, oh my God, we're out of diapers. Now, there are times where we run out of diapers before the next shipment. There's like this 3-day window, and I don't know why I haven't ordered 2 boxes at a time. Like, what's wrong with me? But for the most part, those things that I know we're going to need, I know they're going to get used, I don't want to have to spend my time thinking and planning it. It's just sitting on autopilot and Amazon delivers it at my door and we go about our lives, right? I have my groceries delivered. I have been doing grocery delivery before the pandemic made it cool. It has been a lifesaver as a mom. I remember having Kat, and she's like an infant laying in the bed, drinking a bottle, and I'm sitting there on my side ordering groceries to come to the house. Like, life-changing, game changer. Do it, do it, do it, do it. The more things that you can outsource, the more things that you can delegate that you don't have to think about. Because I don't have to go tell Amazon, okay, well, it's the Pampers Swaddlers size 7, the same diapers that you've been putting on him for how long now? Like, you know this, right? I don't have to explain that. It's already done. And that's just, it's helpful. The more help that you can get, take it, right? So the lawn service, like, we have people come and do our yard. Can my husband take care of it? Yes, absolutely he can. Do we have all the tools and the machinery to do it? Yes, we do. Do we want to spend our quality time together cutting grass and edging corners and taking care of a lawn? No, we don't. Our time together, quality time together, is limited. We have a very busy schedule. We have a very opposite schedule. And I am not going to give up precious time in our weekend to do yard work. For some of you, you think it's therapeutic. Do you? Okay? It is not therapeutic to me. Cleaning the house is not therapeutic to me. Right? So find someone, a housekeeper, a house cleaner that can come help you. At least once a month. Every other week, whatever it takes. If you can't afford it, outsource the shit out of your life. Please do that, right? And there's just a lot of things. And I'm going to actually connect all this back because I know, Irresistible You, we talk about emotional eating, we talk about weight. How is that mental load connected to binge and emotional eating? How is it connected? Is it connected? You're damn right it's connected. Think about it. Think about that pizza brain, right? You have a pizza and it's not just cut in 12 slices. You got like 50 slices cut, okay? If that is how you are operating at all times, where is the space for you? Where is the mental capacity for you to get out of your routines, to get out of your old eating habits? Because when you have been dieting and binging and doing the yo-yo diet, body hate, shame cycle for your whole entire life, it's gonna take space and energy to make some changes. Because what do? Our brains want to be familiar. They want to be comfortable. And that is what you are currently comfortable with. So to break that cycle, you have to do things differently. And when we're running in survival mode, we are carrying this god-awful heavy mental load. We do not have the capacity to have space to make those changes. And that is why we have to have this conversation. We have to talk about the mental load. We have to recognize that it is even a thing. Because if we don't recognize it's a thing, we can't make a decision and do something about it, right? So absolutely the mental load is connected to emotional eating. Because if you're carrying the mental load and you feel alone and you don't feel supported and you feel like you just are going to explode, I'm pretty sure you're emotionally eating to cope with that. So there is a major, major connection to both of those things. So, and hearing a podcast like this and hearing someone else talk about or articulate what may be going on in your brain allows you to feel seen. It makes you feel validated. And when we feel seen and we feel heard, I know personally, I feel that weight come off my shoulders. When my husband comes home and says, babe, what can I do to help? What can I take off your plate? Like that just takes that weight off. And I mean, when I see other reels or blogs or videos or whatever of people talking about these things, it makes me feel like I'm not alone, because we're not. We all are feeling this in some level, right? And it's just a lot. Like, I was laughing because the other day I'm like, okay, the other job title that I have is like momager / kindergarten PR manager, because I'm getting text messages from school about how so-and-so is upset because they didn't get an invitation to Catalina's birthday party. And I'm like, oh my God. So the kindergarten tea is just, I can't. And I'm like, well, that's funny because that person's parent is the very first one that RSVP'd to the party. Or the text messages, can Catalina have a play date with my friend, with my daughter, or blah. And I'm like, okay, now we're just like, momagers. I don't remember my parents managing fucking play dates and shit. Like, I'm sorry, that wasn't a thing in the 80s. You just opened the door and you got on your bike and you went outside and played. But now we have freaking play dates and shit. Like, it's just some next level stuff, guys. Like, I can't. And I really can't. I've been to a couple now. I don't even know how this happened because I just swore I was never going to be that person. Anyway, some PTA meetings, and the first one I sat in on, and I had to both of them. I just went as a parent, right? And I'm biting my tongue because I'm listening to how they're doing certain things and how they're confused about doing certain things. And I'm thinking, I know exactly how to fix this. I know some good process improvement. You could eliminate 3 steps if you just did it this way. And the doer, the Enneagram 8 in me is having to like bite my tongue because I don't have the capacity to get involved, right? I don't want to get involved because I don't have the capacity to do it. Long story short, I was asked to be the PTA room parent for her class. I said yes. It's just, it's fine. It's not the same as like being on the PTA where there's like all those things I'm talking about. I'm like, that's fine. I got this. I can handle that. But my plate is full, and it's managing a lot of stuff. It is managing a lot of stuff, a lot of people, a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions on top of me. Like, I'm a person too, right? Who manages me? Who sets up my appointments? Who washes my clothes? Who schedules my dentist appointments? Who schedules my days off? Who sets up play dates for me? Okay? Who sets up happy hours at the bar for me? Nobody, right? You got to remember, you're a person first. You are a woman. You are a person. And if you're not okay, nobody else is going to be okay, because that shit will flow right over to your kids. Trust and believe. So you have to be okay too. And if we get caught in that resentment, that's a really bad place to be. It's like, I don't know. We can't stay there. We can't stay there. We just got to keep moving forward, and we have to delegate out what we can. And, you know, I've had a lot of moments in the past year where I have thought, who am I? Who have I become? I don't recognize me. And I know I have shared this with you guys in episodes where I'm just like, at times, like, I lost my mojo. I lost me. In the past year, little over a year, you know, obviously was the most life-changing year of my life. You know, finding out our 4-year-old at the time has type 1, that'll rock your world, because there's so many things that you have to learn. Talk about a mental load. You have to learn so many things. There's not one day to catch up and learn it. You're in the hospital, admitted in the hospital, and you've got to learn it now, while also managing the 500 feelings that you're currently going through, because you're still processing the information. You're still trying to process how the hell you got there and how this is going to go forward. Now, things have just become manageable. Things have gotten, I hate to say this because it's not, it comes with a caveat. Things have gotten easier, but the mental load of that will never go away. And when I tell you, this is not me being dramatic. When I tell you it is a 24/7 job, I mean it. I mean it. Because things can happen in the middle of the night if you don't have the alarms on and you don't have everything set up. There could be major consequences to that. And that mental load of that on top of everything else, of course I didn't recognize myself. Of course I lost myself somewhere along the way. Of course I've had to build myself back up. This past year, I've really had to work on that. And I would say last year, 2021, was just a survival dumpster fire. Like, let's just survive each day. This year has gotten better, but I'm still not 100% where I want to be. And I read something that said, and it's so hard to like comprehend this number, but it said people with diabetes make an extra, so compared to a non-diabetic, someone who has diabetes makes around 180 to 300 extra decisions a day. So if you're a parent of a type 1 who is making all of those decisions. And on top of being a parent who worries, who's concerned, who, of course it's probably that many a day. I definitely have felt that. I have felt that many a times. And that will never go away. Will that get easier? It's kind of like a newborn. Yeah, it gets easier, but it gets harder and easier in different ways, because she'll be a teenager and I will still be concerned. I will still be watching the number. I will still be following her, glucose monitor and texting her and saying, hey, go drink a juice, or hey, you need to do a correction. You're a little bit high. Like that will never go away for me. And I don't want it to, because I don't want to not care. I care a lot. We both do, my husband and I, and it's just, yeah. So when I thought about, it's been really hard for me to be creative over the past year. I haven't been pumping out content and podcasts and videos at the level or capacity that I am used to, that I know I am capable of. And I would find myself beating myself up, thinking I'm lazy, thinking I'm, not good enough. The truth is, you're not lazy. You're overwhelmed. You're in survival mode. You're mentally overloaded. And that will come in waves, right? We're never going to get to a place where, our mental load is non-existent. That's not a possibility. But we have seasons of things in our life that are easier, and seasons of things in our life that are hard and harder. What I don't want you doing is, I don't want you comparing problems. Mental load is mental load. Now, the mental load of having a newly diagnosed type 1 diabetic 4-year-old is a hell of a lot heavier than planning birthday parties, okay? Birthday parties are fun. It's exciting. There's still stress. There's still stress involved. There's still mental load involved. It still takes up space in my brain, right? But I'm not gonna deny myself that it's still stressful just because other things could be harder. Just like even some people think they're being helpful and finding out when your child gets diagnosed as type 1, well, it could be so much worse. Oh, okay, thanks. Like, that's really, really supportive, and that's really helpful in this moment. Like, don't say shit like that, okay? Obviously, anything could be worse, right? Anything could be worse. We can always have a worse situation. I want you to really take some time and recognize the mental load. And I want you to write it down. Like, when you can visually see and have your hand cramping up from doing all of the writing that this is going to take, what happens is you can give yourself some grace. You're not giving yourself a pass. You're not telling yourself that you'll continue certain habits because of it. What you're doing is you're creating self-awareness. You're creating the self-awareness that this is a thing. It's a very real thing. And your brain has been preoccupied with a lot of other things. No wonder you're not meal prepping. No wonder you're not picking better choices, because you haven't given yourself time and space to rethink what those choices could be. Because you're running on autopilot, eating fast food and eating the shit that you've always eaten. So that's why it is so important. You have to create self-awareness in order to make massive changes to your life. You cannot change your life until you are self-aware enough that you need to change your life, right? Like, we all know when we want to lose weight, I'm fat, I'm uncomfortable, I hate this, I don't want to look like this, blah, 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 right? But that's not enough. It's not enough. You have to see how you got here. You have to see what you've been competing with. And that will be a game changer for you. And when you start to create self-awareness, You create grace for yourself, okay? Compassion, understanding. And that is not the same as acceptance. I am very clear, especially in the program, about acceptance versus acknowledgement. I can acknowledge, I'm hitting the drive-thru twice a day, I'm overeating, I'm digging in the chocolate. I don't have to accept that this is just who I am. Because if I accept it, I think of acceptance as just, laying down and saying, nothing I can do about it. No, I can acknowledge it, give it some space, give it some breathing room, and say, okay, now that I've acknowledged that I have all these things going on, that I'm managing, that I'm worrying about, now what do I do about it? And so then when you got that list, it's like, okay, are there things on this list that really aren't important? Stop overcommitting to people. It's just like the PTA thing. Like, I'm not going to volunteer to fix your processes because I'm not going to do it just because I know I can. I don't have the capacity to take that on right now. Would it take me a limited amount of time to actually do the thing? Yes. But again, you have to think about the pre-planning, the thinking, the decision-making, and then doing the thing, right? It's just like, so I have worked in instructional design and adult learning and development since, 2003 at this point. So almost 20 years. 20 years. Oh my God, how is that possible? Anyway, so for 20 years, and I've worked on my own now for a few years. I've been on my own independently, and I love it. And this question still comes up even when you do projects for clients, obviously, because, they've got a bottom line. They have a budget. And it definitely comes up when you're in corporate as well. And I always hated the question, well, how long does that take? Right? It's like when you're creating a course and you're creating the outline or the lesson plan or the design document, however you would call it, people call it different things. There's the process of going boom, 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 and writing it down and creating the document and going, okay, I'm going to do this type of activity. I'm going to have this type of test. I'm going to have this type of, text. I'm going to have this type of image. And you're outlining what those things are going to be. But you didn't get to that point when you sat down at the computer and said, I have to write a lesson plan. You had to ideate. You had to plant the seed. And I bet you spent time in the shower thinking of ideas, because we all get our best ideas in the shower, obviously. You spent time in the shower. You spent time on the way to work. You spent time on the way to the kids' game thinking and ideating on this thing that you're creating. And it doesn't have to be instructional design. It can be anything that you're creating. You don't just get to the computer and go, boom, this is what I'm going to write about. It doesn't work that way. So the process of writing the document might be 8 hours from start to finish, but that is not taking into consideration the ideation, the creativity, the space that is required to be creative. You cannot be creative when you have no white space in your life. You cannot be creative when there is no white space left in your life. Where will that creativity come from? When you are burdened by, I got to get this, I got to pick up this, I got to go to here, the kid's got an appointment here, oh my God, did I pay that bill? Oh my God, the taxes are due. Like, you can't. You can't. And it's not because you're not creative. It's not because you're lazy. It's because you're fucking overwhelmed. That's why. You're not lazy because you're not losing weight. You're not lazy because you're not going out for walks. You're not lazy because you're still losing the same 20 pounds over and over again. You're overwhelmed, and you need to set your priorities. You need to become self-aware. You need to prioritize what is important. And you got to go through that list, and you got to figure out what can come off of this list. Like I said before, stop overcommitting to shit that you don't want to do in the first place. I'm going to be the first one to tell you, I will never be the parent who makes things. I am not making shit to bring to school. I am not making cupcakes. I am not making cookies. Girl, I will cater your whole party. I will go to the bakery and buy you the most extravagant cupcakes with glitter and shit all over them. I'm not making them. That like conviction in my voice comes from extreme self-awareness of knowing my limitations, what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. I'm not good at cooking. I am not good at baking, nor do I enjoy it, nor am I willing to spend my free time doing something like that. For someone else, that's their jam, and that's cool, right? You know, you want me to create a process? I got you. I can do that. I like it. I enjoy it, and I can do it fast, right? But I'm just not doing it right now because I ain't got time for that. But you know where I'm going with this. Like, you have to know yourself in order to manage yourself. And how the hell can you get other people on board to help out and take away that load if you don't even know what you need in the first place? You know, so you've got to just really get comfortable with also asking for help. And so like Frank and I'll have these conversations where we sit down and I'm like, okay, here's what's going on this week. Here's what we got. And we're like, okay, you're doing this. I'm doing that. Boom, 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 boom. You got to have those conversations. And if you are with someone who is not willing to have that conversation or is not taking they're not taking the burden away, they're doing their part. They're doing their job. And if they're not doing their job and they are not being responsible to the family, to the children, to you, that's a whole nother topic. Because ain't nobody got time for that shit. Like, I would rather do shit on my own and be alone than be with someone like that. And I'm talking about you've had that conversation, you've talked to that, like they're just not, they act like they're doing you a favor. Your spouse, your husband, your wife, they are not doing you a favor by taking care of the kids. That is their job. When they laid down and had those kids or adopted those kids, however those kids came to be, they took on that responsibility, period, just like you did. And I remember when Kat was like a newborn and I had asked Frank, I was like, hey, can you help me watch her for something, blah, blah, blah. He stopped me in my tracks and he's like, I am not helping you. I am not babysitting. She is my daughter. And that was just so like profound to me in that moment because it's like he knew the assignment right from day one. Like, I am not a babysitter. I am not helping my wife with our kids. I take care of my kids because they're my kids. You know, back in the 1950s and before when women were not, you know, working outside of the home and being breadwinners and having careers and having businesses, then it made sense, right? But we have become business owners. We have become career focused. We have become breadwinners. We have become all of these things while also continuing the mental load of the children, of the house, of the life, of the pets, of all of it. And you've got to figure out, I feel like it'll never be 50-50 in terms of mental load. And I'm okay with that as long as, okay, I am okay with that because you know what? There are things, as long as I'm pulling my weight where I'm strong and he's pulling his weight in the areas where he is strong, and sometimes we cross over a little bit, that's fine with me. I am never cutting the grass, okay? We have someone come and do our grass now, but before, Frank just takes care of it. He just does the trash. Like, he takes care of the light bulbs outside the house. He takes care of the car stuff. So he carries that mental load. I don't have to think about it. But I don't think men keep as many tabs open as we do, hands down. And so I don't ever think it will be 50-50 because I think we are naturally the multitaskers. Our brains were created that way. I think we are naturally, you know, the nurturers, the party planners, that just all of those things. So you have to get to where you're comfortable. What makes you feel comfortable about it all, right? And yeah, like that's it. That's it. I don't know what else to say. Like, I don't know what to say. Go close some of those tabs. Go close them down and go take a walk. Go clear your head. Go get outside. Go do something. Go do something that doesn't require you to think about it. And do not underestimate the power of a to-do list. I love me a to-do list because when you put it on the list, you can take that out of your brain and create space. You know, so don't try to keep all of the tasks up in your brain. That just doesn't work. That just doesn't work. And then you forget things and stuff becomes late and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, this was a really long episode, guys. I know I was a little bit scattered. I was a little bit all over the place, but let's keep this conversation about the mental load and, you know, start having these conversations with your partners because you should not have to carry it 100% on your own. And just to touch on that real quick, and then we're going to wrap up, if I can help someone articulate this, I think what is frustrating the most is you know what has to get done. You know such and such dentist appointments coming up, or, you know, kid's birthday party, or whatever it is, and the other person doesn't automatically think that way. And it's having to remind them or having to ask them that's really frustrating. That's what you need to share. Don't just share a honey-do list. You need to share that of saying, listen, I would really appreciate if you can take this on, meaning I don't have to tell you about it. It just gets done. That's what we need to be able to do. And I will tell you from experience, that is a game changer and it works. So, all right, that's all I got. And yeah, I hope you liked the episode. If this one or any episode in the Irresistible You podcast has been helpful, please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and review. That is the #1 way you can help support the podcast. You can catch up with me on Instagram at Irresistible Icing or inside the free Facebook group. Until next time, guys, stay irresistible. Bye.